How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, the voice likes to remind us of what we are doing here, even though I already know. Okay, anyways, this time we're doing
Why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near?
What are you doing?
Just like me, they long to be close to you.
Stop that!
What?
What are you doing?
I'm singing.
What does this have to do with the Scarab?
Absolutely nothing.
Then why are you singing it?
I like the Carpenters.
Oh my. Anyways, yes, we are doing the Scarab for this episode of Lost Heroes of the Golden Age. For some reason, and I did this in the last video, I keep introducing them as Nedor. It's Nedor. I'm having some sort of weird Freudian slip when I'm recording this. This was interesting, even though I have some issues with the origin, and you'll see when we cover this. This character kind of surprised me because there are a lot of really popular Nedor characters in this in Nedor, but the surprising number of people seem to know who the Scarab is, even though his impression on the Golden Age was minuscule at best. He just wasn't that popular. I don't see why he wouldn't be. I mean, he didn't have, his powers weren't that unusual, but it was his setting and who exactly he was that kind of set him apart from others. But I mean, maybe if he had more powers and could do things a little different, he might have been more interesting, but his power set really wasn't that unusual, and it's just kind of surprising how many people know who he is. Maybe DC had something that shed more light on his popularity, but I really don't know. But let's go ahead and cover the Scarab, and you'll see some of the issues that I had with his first appearance, and then you'll get we'll do a rundown. You'll get kind of an idea of who he was, and maybe somebody can tell me why he's as popular as he is with the short amount of appearances that he had. Maybe it was just a right place at the right time. He had no feature covers, no featured stories, but I don't know. Let's go ahead and get into this with the Scarab. The Scarab, Peter Ward, first appeared in Startling Comics number 34 in 1945. The original publisher was Nedor, and it is created by Unknown. There is not too much to go into on a lead into the Scarab. He had a handful of issues. He premiered in Startling Comics, had a bonus story in Black Terror Comics, and appeared for a handful of issues in Exciting Comics. And that's really it. He had the ability to fly. He appeared to be bulletproof, and he had a measure of super strength, but his durability factor, despite the fact of being bulletproof, was put into question because in a number of issues he was hit from the back, despite the fact that he's wearing what appears to be a helmet, but he could get hit in the back of the head and knocked unconscious. Now, when he was in his civilian form, he did not have any powers. He only had powers when he turned into the Scarab form. And in his civilian form, he could also be rendered unconscious, which did happen more than once. Now, he had sort of an animal companion. There was this black cat, and I'm going to read this from where it says it right here. You're the reincarnation of the priest Octun Men. So we find out that the cat appears in almost every issue, is a reincarnation of a priest. And the cat doesn't have a pivotal role, but he does do a few things in the stories. Now, in the first issue, he his outfit will change differently from how it will appear in the rest of the series. In his first appearance, he has the red shirt, red hat, and what appears to be a purple cape with a purple, I guess it's a tunic for the bottom part. But in the subsequent issues after that, they will do a blue cape where the tunic becomes red. And even though he has red boots in the beginning, he'll end up having blue boots with a blue cape, the red hat, and the red tunic. In a couple of episodes, a couple of appearances, they color swapped him, and I don't think they realized it, where the cape is red and his front shirt, I guess you can call it part of a tunic, was blue. But I think it only happened in 2 issues. Now, he did not fight Nazis except for one time, and it was his final appearance. He mostly dealt with things that were going on in Egypt, and since he was the Scarab, and that's where his powers came from, it makes sense that he would do that. He didn't have any reoccurring foes. The closest thing that I could say to him fighting a supervillain was a giant of a man, and that was only for 1 issue. Now, I didn't see any reason for him not to continue. It could have been the fact that Peter Ward resided in London and worked in Egypt, which means he's not an American superhero by the sense of him, being in America and fighting for American values. And he only fought the Nazis one time in his final issue. Now, I don't know if they were expecting to end it when they did, because in the very last appearance, it says that the Scarab will go up against a new foe in the next issue. Now, saying that a character will appear in the next issue where he doesn't isn't uncommon. Look for him in the next issue. He will appear in another issue of. He appears in every issue of as it goes. What was unusual about this one is it says that the Scarab will encounter a new foe, which sounds like they were setting up something, but that never came to fruition. After number 48, he didn't appear again. Exciting Comics number 48. So a handful of issues, no cover features, no featured stories, and a couple of his stories were the backup feature for the comics. I don't think he ever gained a large measure of popularity, which is really weird because a lot of people know who the Scarab is. And since he only had, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48... Black Terrence from the comics, since he only had 9 appearances, it's really kind of weird that so many people know who he is. Nothing in Project Superpowers. I don't think he appeared in DC proper. I know he came back in a DC storyline of Tom Strong, which I really don't know anything about Tom Strong, to be honest. So that's it. Let's go ahead and cover the first appearances. Now, a lot of the stuff that they are going to be using is Arabic slang. I don't know Arabic very well. I have looked up the words from a pronouncement machine so I can try try to pronounce it as best as I possibly can. So if I screw it up, I'm not doing it on purpose. I am trying the best to do it as it should be said. One more thing. When Peter goes over to Egypt in his first issues, he's fighting a set of bandits that I was looking at this going, why are they speaking English? And I'm going to go with the fact that they weren't speaking English, since Peter Ward lives in London, works in Egypt. He is an archaeologist in Egypt, and it would make sense for him to be able to speak the Arabic dialect. I'm just going to assume that everyone over there was speaking Arabic, and it was translated for the benefit of us. So that's what I'm going with. So when I'm reading them and they're not speaking Arabic, well, they're using some of the slang, but I'm going to assume that he is speaking their dialect because he's an archaeologist and over in Egypt. It would make sense for him to know the language. So let's go ahead and get covered with the first appearance of a Scarab, with the Scarab, a confusing enough hero and largely well known, more than I would have thought of for someone who had 9 appearances. So let's do this. One more thing I forgot to mention before we get this started. This is the Scarab was the star of Avenging Force, the Scarab. I mentioned this briefly when I covered Lady Satan on Lost Heroes number 19. Right here you have the Scarab, the Black Terror, that's supposed to be Lady Satan, and that's Daredevil. This is, I don't want to say it's a bad movie, it's a low-budget movie. It's obviously a low-budget movie. It's not that great. If you want, you can watch the trailer and tell that it's low-budget. Watch a review if you want. Don't watch the movie. I have warned you. It's not really worth watching, but it's worth mentioning briefly because it happened. So let's get started. The Scarab. Strange god rules when mankind was young. They are forgotten now or ridiculed as fanciful myths, but no man can prove that they never existed, and who's to say that their power is dead? Peter Ward, brilliant American archaeologist, would have said so once, but that was before he discovered the fantastic secrets of the sacred Scarab. For those of you who are not familiar with the word fanciful, that basically means existing in myth or legends. Okay. Peter Ward visits his wealthy uncle in London. To what do I owe the honor of this rare visit, you young scamp? Just a desire to have a little peace and quiet, Uncle Joab. I've had enough excitement for a lifetime in the past few months with my expedition to the Gobi Desert, and, okay, I have a problem with the structure of this sentence. They didn't need to bracket off enough into 2 different lines. You could have scooted excitement over enough and had E there. I mean, 2 was all the way at the edge of the border lines. Excitement could have been scooted over. And you could have done the same thing with dropping Gobi down to where desert is, so expedition could have stayed as 1 word. And he doesn't even say anything after and, so and isn't actually needed. He could have said, with my expedition to the Gobi Desert, ... Okay. I'm not going to go too long about that. I just don't like how that sentence is expressed. Personal preference more than anything else. Suddenly, what was that? It came from outside. Help! Okay, so they find this guy at their doorstep. It looks like they're looking out the window, even though it appears to be steps to a door. I mean, they're standing right next to a window. You are Peter Ward. I was sent to tell you, go to the hidden tomb of the cat god, Papyrus, in Britain Museum. Only last word, each sentence, Now, I do want to criticize how much this guy is actually able to say before he died. But if you've watched a number of my Golden Age videos, people are able to get out a whole host of exposition while standing at death's door. Now, I really hate the fact of how many times they say cat god on this one page. As far as I know, the Egyptian cat god is Bastet. So, I mean, all they needed to do was to go, cat god. Oh, he means bested. I mean, why did they have to keep saying cat god? It sounds really ignorant. I mean, in reference to the other Egyptian gods, you don't say the female warrior of wisdom, or the female wisdom warrior's tomb. You say Isis. You don't say jackal-headed god. You say Anubis. You could have said his name. It just infuriates me because they keep saying cat god through this story, and they don't say cat god again from the other issues I've read, unless I was skimming by it so fast that I missed it. So it's kind of annoying that they keep saying cat god. The Egyptian fool. I mean, like right here. This is not good. The cat god tomb is said to contain fabulous jewels. Okay. They're reviewing the body. They said it was the British Museum. Now, I'm a little confused. We have two breakers here. At that moment and at the British Museum. When you get to the next panel, you're supposed to read over, but you can see how the panel is walled off, and at the British Museum is at the bottom. So I'm assuming that both of these things are supposed to be happening at the exact same time, but the paneling is very weird to what's going on next. Okay, so he said that the guy gave his secrets to Peter's ward, and they're going to keep a close eye on things. And, he goes to the museum, and I guess he's talking to the curator, I guess. I'd like to look over any Egyptian records you have relating to the tomb of the legendary cat god. Why do you keep calling him cat god? Did people not know what his name was back in 1945? I mean, I'm pretty sure all the Egyptian gods were known by then. Why couldn't you just call him bested? Okay. He says that he has found the scroll, but what the man said doesn't make any sense to him, and he keeps reading it for later. This papyrus was unearthed in the Upper Nile expedition in 1924. There should be some mention of the cat god's tomb in here. Well, okay, if the papyrus wasn't discovered in 1924, it's completely possible that 21 years later, they did not actually know that his name was Bestet. But we know that now. I'm pretty sure they knew it back then. And all of a sudden he hears a voice from nowhere. Death is the fate of all those who defy the Holy of Holies. I have no idea what that means. So he goes around and he looks for the voice and he can't seem to discover anything. He says he doesn't believe in ghosts. But he looks at the papyrus again and he says, I'll take the last word in each sentence, and it works. The description of how to find the tomb of the cat god. This is fantastic. Wait a minute. It said hours later. The guy dying on the steps said, take the last word. I mean, hold on. I'll go back a page. Only last word each sentence. That's what he told you. So you were there for hours and you're just now doing what the clue that this guy gave you while he was dying. Okay, so that night he talks to his uncle and he wants him to fund an exposition, and he's like, I'm not made of money. He's like, you've got more than enough money, but there are jewels. Oh, there are jewels. Well, obviously I could use more jewels. That's fine, uncle. Write me a check. Well, I mean, the rich don't just start handing out money all willy-nilly. If he thinks that jewels are going to be part of the return for this expedition, of course he's going to fund it. That way he gets a return on his investment and he can make more money. I mean, That just makes sense. Okay. Go easy with those crates, fellas. Sahib Ward, that is addressing him as a proper name. I am Alban Camel Driver of Tibet, of the Tibest. You need many camels, yes? He says that he's going to need 20 camels. Oi, Sahib Ward. Aliban is not hard to please. 20 camels, I oblige. Now, as I said in the opening, I'm assuming that they're all speaking Arabic. I mean, it wouldn't make much sense for them to speak English to one another, especially when they're yelling death to the infidels. I mean, there's no reason they'd say that in English. So I'm assuming that everybody is speaking Arabic, even though it doesn't necessarily say that. In the searing desert, days and blistering heat, like nights of chill loneliness. He tells them that the men are growing weary of the travels. They don't have much water left. Sahib, Bedouins approach. There are many. Oh no, trouble. Those babies are killers. So the Bedouins attack. Plunder, kill, death to the unbelievers. And he stands up and shoots one of them. He shoots the leaders. Leaderless, the Bedouins break and flee. This thing about bullies when the shoe's on the other foot. Death to the fate of all who defies the holies of holies. That voice again. Allah is angry with us. So they think that is Allah speaking to them and that they had done something wrong, so they flee. Peter tries to stand in front of them and he gets knocked out for his troubles. So he wakes up. Where am I? My head. The Arabs. They've deserted me. They took everything we're taking, but I came to find the tomb of the cat god, and I'm not about to take a rain check now. So, okay, they said that they took everything worth taking, but you're wearing what looks to be a backpack. So I'm assuming that you had some provisions. Minutes pass into hours into the hours into days. Gotta find water, gotta keep going. I've got to... Now, as I said, I think he had a pack, but he's saying he has to have water, and he's walking around the desert with water. Now, as long as it doesn't turn into weeks, I can go by the rule of 3 to why he hasn't died yet. 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. It's the rule of 3 for survival. As long as it's been only a few days and he doesn't have any water, he can live up to 3 days without the water. Of course, in the desert, that's a completely different proposition. He sees a man on horseback and then believes it to be a mirage, and he passes out. Ho ho, he's dead. Too bad, Monsieur Ward, too bad. It will not feel hard to find the tomb now, I think. The way he's speaking, I'm assuming that this guy is French. Okay. So, out in the desert, loneliness, a strange black cat. A cat. I must be dreaming, but I'm not. Okay, I think it's supposed to be nighttime because of the way everything is dark, but you look at the ball in the sky, and that is definitely the sun. I mean, on this first page, it looks like the moon. Black sky, yellow ball in the sky, and then everything is blue, but it's black again with what appears to be a blazing sun. Okay, he leads him to the tomb. He finds a stone slab with hieroglyphic writing that says that this is the tomb of the cat god. No, it does not. It would not say cat god. If the hieroglyphics were written on there and it was made by the Egyptians, it would not say cat god. They would not put that on there. They would say that it is Basted. That's what would be written on there, not cat god. Okay, so he follows the black cat in. He says that there is a sarcophagus. Still hasn't gotten any water. It doesn't say he has any water. And a startling revelation. He reads this papyrus. And I find this rather preposterous, but we're going to go ahead and read anyways. And there shall come to be the tomb led by the black cat reincarnation of the priest Octomen, a stranger from across the great waters. His name shall be Peter Ward. Uh-huh. How many years was this tomb enshrined, and how long has it been since anybody found it? And they wrote Peter Ward in hieroglyphics. No, I'm not buying it. I will go along with the fact that you are the first person to find it there, and that you are now going to be the Scarab, but I will not use my suspension of disbelief to think that a tomb that was probably enshrined somewhere in the BC era wrote down the name Peter Ward. Names like Peter and Ward didn't even exist in that time frame. There is no way your name is written in hieroglyphics on the papyrus. Okay. And again, the papyrus would not say cat god. It would say bastard. I know I'm going on about this. It's just one of the little annoyances I had. It would have been so easy to put down the cat god's name instead of just constantly saying cat god. Anyways, he puts on the ring and he realizes that he becomes the Scarab. What the? I didn't finish reading the scroll. Why wouldn't you finish reading the scroll before you put the ring on? It says that I am to be the Scarab, to wear a costume, to serve good over evil, and have the power of levitation. That means I can fly. You can do more than that. You have super strength and you're bulletproof. He rubs the ring again, and he goes back to his regular powerless identity. So he comes out of the tomb, and he gets knocked on the head by what I assume to be a Frenchman. Carry out everything valuable. No, that's everything. He's not saying it in French there. I hate how you bracket the words like that. It's carry out everything. We'll be rich about beyond our wildest dreams. That bird is behind all the troubles I've been having. He used me to find the tomb. Well, now he's in for a surprise. So he rubs the ring and he changes into Scarab. Moi duend, it is impossible. See, that's why I'm going with him being French, right? What he just said right there. Die, I kill you, parbleu. The bullets do not stop him. And that's how we also learned he's bulletproof. We'll learn about his super strength later. He wouldn't use all of his strength just to knock the guy out. He would kill him. So he knocks the guys out. The Scarab strikes. Journeys end, you cunning rats. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to read the last couple of pages here so we can just see, right here. Do not harm us, O great master. We but obey. You will obey me now. Carry everything you stole back into the tomb at once. This grave robbery is headed for a Cairo jail. Okay, I'm completely confused about grave robbing in Egypt, but did you actually go to jail for finding archaeological artifacts and jewels and stuff and go to jail for it? I mean, the grave of Tutankhamun is in a museum. People go and see it every year. I don't think anybody was thrown into jail for that. Do you actually get thrown in jail for taking stuff out of an Egyptian tomb? I mean, I would presume maybe nowadays, but back in the 40s, would you go to jail for that? If I'm wrong, let me know. I just find something like this hard to believe. I mean, if you find a temple and there's nobody else around and you decide to take all the precious artifacts and jewels, is there really anybody to enforce rules on that? A week later back in London, my word, Peter, I spent a small fortune on your expedition, and all you bring me is this statue. You see, you took a statue! You're throwing them in jail for taking the precious jewels out of the tomb, which they are going ahead and putting back because you told them to, but you took a statue. And all you bring me is this statuette. What about the jewels? What about Uncle? It would have been sacrilege to rifle the ancient tomb. You took the statuette! You have plenty of money. That's not for you to decide. He wrote you a check because he wanted a return on his investment. Besides, money isn't everything. Some things are worth more. Aren't they, Octun? Watch for more spine-tingling adventures of the Scarab. But it wouldn't be in this publication. Yeah, I mean, he says he's going to throw them in jail for stealing stuff from the tomb, but you took something. Well, what is it? One rule for them and another rule for you? Okay. I've expressed my grievances with this origin. I have some issues with it. But that is the origin story of the Scarab. Well, I hope you like this video. I hope you like what we're doing so far. The interesting with Nedor is the same problem that I was having with Marvel and starting off with Ace. There are more characters that I want and need to be covered than we can do in a month. So I'm just trying to cover some of the hits. So until the next time, I'll be seeing you.